For an inexpensive smartphone without breaking the bank, well, today we're looking at an AT&T prepaid smartphone called the Motivate Pro 2 5G. Now, going over last year's Motivate Pro that we looked at last year, they kind of share pretty much the same similarities. They got the same chipset with a MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus. They both have the same 6.75-inch display. If you round that, that's about 6.8 inches. 50 megapixel triple camera, which are actually the cameras this year I think have been beefed up from this camera setup, but you do still get that same 50 megapixel camera. The only difference is with this phone is you are losing the support for a eSIM. The newer one this year gives you an eSIM. So they're pretty much identical phones. You are getting a slightly better camera setup, I think, this year than last year. Are you looking for a phone that won't break the bank? Well, today we're looking at an AT&T prepaid phone called the Motivate 2 Pro 5G. Now, that might sound familiar because the AT&T Motivate Pro 5G from last year was a similar phone with a similar build. They both had a massive 6.75-inch HD Plus display, which is 720p, 50 megapixel triple camera lens, to 128 gigs of internal storage and expandable storage thanks to micro SD card support, dual speakers that are stereo, fast charging up to 5,000 milliamp hour, and it does have a 15 watt of fast charging, if you want to call that. Fingerprint scanner and face unlock, NFC support, and also Android 14. That might sound familiar because it's pretty much the same thing. On the Motivate Pro 2, we're getting the same 6.7-inch display with basically a 6.8-inch screen. You get 50 megapixel camera, 5 megapixel basically ultra wide, and a 2 megapixel micro camera, powered by a 5,000 milliamp hour battery with 128 gigs of storage. Experience turbo charging, which would be 15 watts, performance with 6 gigs of RAM, NFC, face unlock, and fingerprint scanner. Now, yes, this is the Motivate Pro 2 5G from AT&T Prepaid. Basically, what you're getting here is a decent package. You get NFC. You're getting a 6.75-inch display, rounded. It's about 6.8 inches. And you're getting a screen-to-body ratio that is 88%. So it's decent. You do have some little, you have a chin at the bottom, but overall, this is what we're used to seeing from budget handsets. Again, you are getting NFC, you are getting a 90 hertz refresh rate, which is really nice to see. You're getting stereo speakers, Type-C charging, 15 watts, and you are getting 2 noise-canceling microphones, one on the bottom, one at the top right there, your stereo top speaker, and your bottom firing speaker. You do have a headphone jack, which is nice to see, and you do get a fingerprint scanner / power button, volume up and down rocker. So we're getting a pretty nice package here. Now, it is pretty much the same phone as last year. Both phones share the same exact processor. That is the MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus. So basically, this is just a repackaged Motivate Pro. They just added the 2 on the side. But for some things, I do think this phone actually does perform a little better. Now, a lot of people may say, no, it's the same chip. Not necessarily. We are getting Android 15 here, which is a big difference from Android 14. Now, I feel that last year's model had a lot of glitchiness and a lot of bugs with it. So, yes, they may have the same chipset, but sometimes some software updates can help fix phones from being glitchy and slow. Now, not that last year's phone was bad. Last year's phone was still very, very good and still very, very capable. Now, for $50, you're getting a lot in the package. You're getting NFC. You're getting basically a decent 720p screen, good battery life with a 5,000 mAh battery, and you're getting decent charging speeds, about an hour and 15 minutes it took for this one to charge from, I would say, 35% to 100%. Now, there's no wireless charging. You're not going to find that on these inexpensive devices. Now, kind of similar to the Revel 8 on, T-Mobile and some of the, the no-name brand smartphones through Cricket Wireless, this is a decent device overall. Now, last year's model, again, they have similar setup. The cameras, for the most part, are pretty much the same. pretty much same dimension. So if you do upgrade to this phone, you're going to be getting the same overall type of device. It may even be similar performance overall because, again, the same chipset, same 6 gigs of RAM, same 128 gigs of storage. But I always feel that if you can't get software updates, now a lot of people buying these smartphones aren't buying it because it's a high-end smartphone. They just are walking into your local Walmart, going to your prepaid section and saying, I need a phone. I don't really care. Maybe it's for an emergency. Maybe it's to have a burner phone. You never know why people are buying smartphones. Maybe it's for them to give to their kids. Maybe it's to have just as a secondary phone. Maybe they run a business and they just need an extra phone. I know a lot of times people will do that. They run a business. They'll buy these types of phones to have as a business phone. And it works well. It's fast. Again, you're getting that MediaTek Dimensity 6100, which is a 2.2 gigahertz chipset. It's not terrible. It's definitely not 2.4 gigahertz, but it will do the trick. Geekbench numbers around 765. Multi-score around right around 1,400, so not too bad, depending on your device or your options. You'll get slightly lower specs because I did do a Geekbench test. Even though they're running the same chipset on the Motivate Pro from last year, it actually had lower scores, 715, and multi-score with low 1,000. So this does, for some reason, maybe it's because of Android 15, this does get slightly higher Geekbench numbers, even though it is running the same chipset. Basically, you are getting pretty much the same repackaged device. I do like this year's model better, kind of has a shimmering effect and stuff like that. So far, I've had no issues. That 90 hertz refresh rate is very nice. We are getting 500 nits of brightness this year versus last year's 400 nits of brightness. So again, you're getting 500 nits of brightness. Last year was 400 nits. So you're getting a slightly brighter screen this year. It's still the same 720p panel, still Gorilla Glass 3. So you are still getting the same overall build quality and stuff. It is mainly built of plastic and stuff like that, but it does look pretty premium if you look around the phone. I was very impressed by how it looks, even though it is running even though it's got a 720p screen and stuff like that. You're getting a lot in the package. I mean, for $50, you're actually getting the plug in the box. You're getting the charging brick. You're getting the wire. So that's good to see. I put the Pixel launcher on here because I thought the Pixel launcher was a better option for this device. Now, the software it comes with is Android 15, but it's a bit glitchy, I noticed, and stuff like that. The fact that the phone has, NFC, a large 6.75-inch display, gives people plenty of options for a nice display. This is great for media consumption if you're watching movies and reading documents. With that AT&T branding in the back, that shimmering effect design, and the triple camera layout, the main camera is a 50 megapixel camera. The bottom is a 5 megapixel ultra wide, and you get a 2 megapixel micro camera. Kind of has a gold trim to it. You get your fingerprint reader, your up and down volume rocker. The phone does give you eSIM compatibility, but you can also still use a basic nano SIM as well. The bottom houses your noise canceling microphone, your Type-C charging up to 15 watts, headphone jack, and bottom stereo speaker. Now, overall, this is a decent phone. There's nothing against it. It's a decent overall package for $50. You're getting an entry-level 5G smartphone with entry-level performance, entry-level to mid-range performance, Geekbench numbers in the 700 series. I always say, if you get Geekbench numbers for single core from 750 all the way up to 900 to 1,000, you've got a decent phone. If you got multi-score 1,000 or over, that's still pretty good too. For a phone that costs $50 or under $100. Now, if Samsung put their branding on this, they would charge you $200 easily. But where this is a no-name brand, again, they put out phones for companies like Cricket Wireless, Boost Mobile, even T-Mobile. This is a decent overall package. triple camera setup here. Nice shimmering effect. I think it's better than last year's model. Last year's model was still very, very good, very capable phone. And if you do have that phone, you don't necessarily need to upgrade until next year's model. This year's model still gives you the same chipset, MediaTek Dimensity 6100 chipset, or MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus chipset, with, again, 128 gigs of storage, same 6 gigs of RAM, same 15 watts fast charging, same fingerprint, same unlock. The only difference is this gives you Android 15 and eSIM compatibility. Now, they may have made some different changes with the camera. I noticed this phone takes much better camera photos than the last year's Moto 8 Pro. I think the camera, or it could be just the fact that Android 15 runs better, or just some software updates or whatever. But from what I saw, this takes better photos in low light, and actually I think it does better in video. Both phones max out at 2K 30 frames per second, and you can do 1080p 60, so that's a decent deal right there. What you're getting here is a hell of a deal. NFC, 5,000 mAh battery, gives you everything you need in the box. Type-C charging, stereo speakers, headphone jack. A lot of companies are trying to do away with the headphone jack. You're getting a charger and a wire in the box. You're getting a plug-in, a brick, and you're getting that wire in the box. Outside of that, this is a hell of a deal. And if you're on AT&T, look into this phone. For Mr. Positive Live, I'm Mr. Positive. The Moto 8 Pro 2 5G gets a pass by me.